All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sparked HL7 AU eRequesting Technical Design Group meeting for Thursday, the 23rd of October, 2025. Welcome to the meeting. My name's Chris. We've also got Michael Wilson presenting today. First of all, let's start with a quick acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we gather today. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend our respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We acknowledge the First Peoples as the first scientists, educators and healers. All right. Here's the agenda for today's meeting. Quick update on the usual stuff, approval of minutes. We're going to talk about a couple of events that are coming up soon. That should all take a few minutes. And then Michael's going to be talking to us about the current ballot for working standards we're up to, and then we shall get into reconciliation tasks. Lots of fun. So let's get into the usual business. First of all, we've got approval of minutes from the previous meetings. I shall open these up. Here they go. That was chaired by Stuart, and the notes were done by Michael Osborne. Would anyone like to motion to approve those minutes?
I shall do so.
And Dave McKillop will second, thanks.
Thank you, guys. All right, so we're launching a quick poll. Approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Very good, and we shall wrap that one up in 3, 2, 1. All right, and they have been approved as expected. 9 affirmative and 5 abstained. Okay, so let's look at the events that are coming up soon. So the first one, I didn't even know about this. The Melbourne Fire Connect-a-thon will be on the 9th and 10th of December at 700 Swanston Street in Melbourne. Is there anyone who can talk to that and what's going to be covered there?
I guess I can. So we do 3 connect-a-thons each year, the Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. So this is the last one of the year in Melbourne. We will have tracks covering at least eRequesting, AU Core, patient summary, and there will likely be a couple of others. They will be announced probably within the next few weeks. As normal, tickets are limited. So if you are looking to come along, then make sure you do get in early for that. But we also discourage you from taking up a ticket if you really are unsure if you are coming, or you really have to put those tickets back into the pool, because we do get a lot of disappointed campers if they can't make it along to it. And as always, it really is focused around those technical folk who can create working solutions there during the event. So you're all very welcome to come along. It's a lovely opportunity to meet colleagues who are potentially wrestling with the same problems you are, and it's very much of kind of leave your organization kind of constraints as much as you can at home and come along and be part of that community.
Awesome, thanks Andy. The other event that we have coming up soon is in Canberra, and this is a Sparked CDG AU Core TDG Community Co-Design Workshop for the Clinical Design Group and AU Core Technical Design Group, and that is coming up on November 12th and 13th. Michael, can you brief on this one?
Yeah, I've just put a link in the chat to both of those, the Connectathon and this event. So there are a few more tickets left to this Canberra event as well. So if you'd like to come to Canberra and be involved in that, they're not. We don't have an eRequesting theme on this Canberra event, but if you're interested in Encounter Record, which is one of the next folks coming up, and or Patient Summary, which is the TDG. Phase of that, please register. You can register for only one of those days if you're interested in only one, or you can come along to both. I think there are tickets still available for both of those days if you're interested.
Fantastic. And of course in Canberra, which is the best city in Australia, so totally worth coming to. All right. Cool. Well, Michael, I think I might hand over to you. Would you like to drive?
Yeah, I will. Let me just get my screen sorted. All right. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen now.
We can.
And I think I can see everything. Well, there we go. Okay, so an update on the ballot for working standard. So this is just, again, an update of where the ballot was. We're currently in the ballot reconciliation period. Our target is to get through that by the end of November. We've got still a number of issues to go. Whether we can get there by November or not, I'm not sure, but that's certainly the target where we want to be so that we can try and publish by February next year. Obviously, that's contingent on us having resolved all the ballot issues, and we only have a 20% affirmative vote at the moment, but as we resolve issues, when we complete this ballot reconciliation process, we'll go back to the balloters and ask if they want to withdraw their negative votes, given that we've resolved their issues. And then hopefully that will give us our 60% percentage that we need to publish. So the actual progress of where we're at to now, so of our 99 ballot issues, the co-chairs have triaged 82% of those, and we've been through reconciliation of over 50% now. So that's TDG votes. We're over halfway now, which is great. And of those, we've had 22 actually applied. So if you were to go to the eRequesting IG at the moment, you'll see changes coming through. And we've got 22 of those changes already applied, and that'll follow on from our reconciliation. Given the number of ballot issues we've got, we're running electronic votes in parallel to these meetings. So we can do electronic votes on issues. So there was an electronic vote that was open between the 2nd and 15th of October. So that one was on informative changes in the IG. Just jump to that. Okay. I'll just wait for it to load up here. No, I'll wait for it loading, but either way, so that vote has now closed. We had 12 affirmative votes for that. So that vote has passed with those informative changes. We also have, jump back to this, so that vote has passed. We also had another block vote out as well. So this was a set of issues that were considered for future use. It was open during the same period from the 2nd to 15th of October. In that, we actually had 2 votes that were referred to Telecon. So what that means is someone wants to talk about it in one of these TDG meetings, and that was for one issue. So the comment was applied to that, saying that fire 52412 issue on the use of IPS pregnancy status, that they wanted that brought to a TDG meeting. So when we have a refer to Telecon, we remove it from the block vote and we schedule it for a TDG meeting. So that one's not scheduled for today because Heath was the one that wanted it referred to Telecon. He couldn't attend today. So he's asked if we can do it in the next meeting. So it's gone on the agenda for the 6th of November, and we'll discuss that one. So it's been removed from the vote. And of the remaining issues that were in that, the vote had passed as well with a 10 affirmative. I'll see if we can jump to that one. Yeah, here we go. So you'll notice here there was 2 refer to telecom votes, and there was a comment. If you are voting negative or referring to telecom, you do need to provide a comment. So Heath has asked some questions about that, and he suggested it's withdrawn from the block vote and referred to telecom for open discussion. So we're abiding by that and have scheduled it accordingly. But all the other issues have been retained in the block vote and have passed. So now we'll jump into reconciliation. And there is another block vote that's currently open. So this is block vote 4, which is on non-persuasive items. This is open until next Wednesday, so close of business next Wednesday. So I'll just show you that one. Bring that one up. I'll put it in the chat as well. So find my chat window. So that's in the chat. I encourage everyone to vote on this if you can. It would be nice to get more regular voters on the electronic votes as well as in the TDG meetings. So if you're able to follow that link, have a look at these in your own time and apply a vote, that would certainly be appreciated. So we get as many people across the issue as possible. So these are all grouped as not persuasive. So there's 7 issues in this block. If you vote, your vote applies across all of those issues. If you want to refer any of them to Telecom, mark it, put a comment, say which one you want to discuss in a meeting. Otherwise, they'll be contained in the block. And that will close next Wednesday, and we'll provide the results of that in the next meeting. For today, we've got 6 issues here. There was a few more we would have liked to have gone through today, but people who have raised the issues or have an interest in the issue couldn't attend today's meeting. So those ones will be coming into the next meeting. But we have these 6 here that were triaged and ready to go. So we'll go through those today. As usual process, we send this out a week before the meeting, so you've got a chance to review them beforehand and ready for discussion today. But I'll shoot myself in the foot here. So I think they're relatively simple ones today, but now I've said that, they won't be. We'll see how we go. Okay, jump straight into it. So this is via 52403, the communication request to patient about attribute. I will just grab that one, throw it in the chat. So if you want to follow along, you can. So, but I've copied the description out there, and the description is what is the logic in differentiating behavior when the communication request about attribute is the task versus the request? Why allow both? It seems we need to choose one for the set of the current intent. So I might actually show you in the IG. It's probably easier. So in our file artifacts, we have profiles and extensions, we have task, and we have on our eRequesting task, we have an about attribute, which should be here somewhere. Did I just go past it? Can't see it. And R4 also on master request owner. Maybe it's on the actual task diagnostic request. Have a look at that. No. Oh, communication request. That'll be why. Not task. So on our communication request profiles, We have an about attribute here. It is mandatory. You must have at least one. And then it can be a reference to a pathology request, an imaging request, or a group task. And you will see, I think, on our, say, copy to profile, the about can only be a pathology request or an imaging request. The patient communication request, it can be a pathology request, an imaging request, or a task group. And on the communication provider, urgent provider, it can be pathology request or an imaging request. So none of the co-chairs of us actually understood why we put it on the patient profile. This ticket is talking about asking that question as well, as why is there a link to the task versus the request? Why are they both? Essentially need to choose. So given it's only on one of our communication request profiles and we actually don't know why it ended up there, it may have just been an oversight by us. The proposed disposition here is persuasive that we remove the eRequesting task group binding from CommunicationRequest.about in all of the AU eRequested communication request profiles, because we're not sure on the usage there.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
So one of the things about communication request is that in our use of it, we may be talking at times about the communication request is actually about the service request. So it's about the actual request that was being made. And from a patient perspective, you could argue that the patient should be able to see both the request for something to be done, but should also be able to see results that come from fulfilling that request. So I think one of the things that when we were originally doing this is that we were expecting both of those cases to be covered from a patient perspective. Whereas if you look at things like copy to, we're not copying directly the request. We're not asking for the request to be copied to someone. We're actually asking for the report that results from a fulfillment to be copied once that report is complete. So this does really come down to the semantics of what that about means. And it's not as explicit as saying the about is actually the package that's being communicated. It's actually saying that what you are communicating is based on, in some ways, shouldn't do based on because there's actually an attribute called based on, but it's actually founded in the reference that is provided in about. That's just to say that that this is quite subtle in terms of how we use it, but nonetheless, at the moment, I don't think we have a good reason to differentiate based on the about attribute, because we actually have other ways of distinguishing the communication request and the intended semantics.
Yeah, that's right. I think it adds confusion at the moment rather than actually helping with that. Any questions on that? Does anyone need any further detail? If not, I'm happy to motion that we accept this disposition of persuasive to remove the task group binding from about on communication request.
Would anyone like to second Michael's motion?
Yeah, happy to second Jenny Whale.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, so we're going to vote for that one. Should now be a poll up on your screen. And we are voting for what is on the slide.
I'm +1 in the chat.
Okay. All right, and we shall wrap that one up in 3, 2, 1. And that one is passed, 72%, 13 votes for, and 5 abstained. And we've got 94% of people voting for that one. I think that's the highest I've ever seen. So well done, guys.
Plus, it's 14 because I had one in the chat.
Oh, you as well. Sorry, yep. So that's even more. That's 19 of 19. That's everyone. Everyone voted. Big round of applause, guys. All right, brilliant. Thanks, Michael. Move on.
Okay. Next one is 52579 about AU eRequesting DI mappings into eRequesting. And we'll put this one in the chat as well. And jump back. This is I think that is the wrong description. Don't look at the description on the screen. Let's have a look at the ticket. No. A bit bigger for everyone. So just make sure I got the right one now. 52579. Yep. Okay, so in the AU eRec data for interoperability mappings into eRequesting shows AUCDI adverse reaction risk summary, problem diagnosis summary, and sex and gender summary mappings to AU core, but the IG doesn't say that these requirements apply in eRequesting, who must support them, or where they're enforced. Please describe how these requirements that are mapped to AU core are supported in eRequesting, including statements around which actor is responsible and the conformance level, etc. So I will show you that one. If we look in IG, we have under guidance, we have eRequesting data for interoperability mappings. And in here we show all the mappings from the eRec data for interoperability, where we've implemented it in eRequesting profiles, the fire path to get it, as well as any comments about this. So you can see all of these, like service requests, we've mapped to diagnostic request, and we've got all the mappings here. But this particular issue is talking around these AUCDI data groups. We've got adverse reaction risk summary, problem diagnosis summary, and sex and gender summary. You can see these have been mapped to AU core allergy intolerance, AU core condition, and AU core patient. And what we've done in release 1 is these aren't included in scope. So we haven't talked about how adverse reaction risk summary, problem diagnosis summary would actually be implemented in R1. They're out of scope for us at the moment. So we have a look back at, hopefully I've got the right resolution on this screen. Okay, this is very wordy. But we're looking at saying, well, this is persuasive, that currently we haven't said how these apply in eRequesting. All we're doing is saying that they are AU core. So this is, it's not clear. So looking at a proposed disposition here is that the AUCDI data groups for adverse reaction risk summary, that's mapped to AU core allergy intolerance, and problem diagnosis summary mapped to AU core condition, mapping are not included in eRequesting R1. So to do that, to address that, we should add a comment against those two: adverse reaction risk summary, problem diagnostic summary, and device implanted. Oh, sorry, there was another one there, the device implanted, I think, which is actually implanted medical device. This one here as well. We haven't profiled device. It's not something we've included in scope in release 1. So this is just mapped to the international fire device resource. We haven't profiled it. We haven't really discussed it. So including device, we'll add a comment that this AUCDI data group is a future candidate requirement under consideration. Future versions of AU eRequesting will develop and test approaches to addressing adverse reaction risk summary, problem diagnosis summary. add an entry for each to a future candidate requirement under consideration for the future eRequesting page. So we also have in the IG, this is where we're going to put everything that we mark as considered for future use. There's a future of AU eRequesting page here, so we can put a list of things that we're considering for the future in there, so they're not lost, and they're found. The last bit of this is we update the data group for sex and gender summary mapped to the AU core patient to AU eRequesting patient, so which addresses each of the AUCDI data elements, including use and performance. So we've, on a previous ballot issue, we said that we would create an AU eRequesting patient profile that derives from AU core patient. So we will just update this bottom one to be, rather than AU core patient, it will be AU eRequesting patient, because we've just taken the exact AU core patient profile and created an eRequesting one. These two here, problem diagnosis summary, risk summary, we will just add a comment over here saying it's a future candidate under consideration, as well as the device, implanted medical device. We'll put a comment here just saying that it's a candidate for future consideration. A lot of words there, but hopefully that makes sense. Do we have any comments on that? No. Okay. Well, I'd like to motion that we make this change, persuasive change, to update the AUCDI data groups as written here.
Thank you, Michael. And would anyone like to second that motion?
Happy to second, repeat.
Thank you, Janie. Okay, so we are voting for the current motion. Just give me a sec to get that poll up. Okay, there we go.
+1 in the chat.
All right, and we shall wrap up that poll in 3, 2, 1. And that one is passed, 16 votes for and 2 abstained. Thank you.
I'll update the slide deck, so we've got it with the minutes with the correct description on that previous page.
Yep.
Okay, let's go 52576. Chat. Okay, move examples, the AU requesting interaction flow from the home page to guidance. So the detail outlined in 1.6 example interaction flow is lost in a very long home page and will be more beneficial in guidance. It gives context to both the grouping and workflow guidance, indicating who creates and interacts with what. So I'll show you where that one is now. Home page. Okay, we have a home page here. Now, introduction, background, scope, outer scope, dependencies. And then down the bottom here, we've got the interactions. And then we've got the interaction flow. So this ticket is about, and then we've also got how to read this guide and collaboration and the like. So the ticket is about moving this diagram to our guidance. So under guidance, we have general guidance and workflow guidance. So our general guidance, we've got things about grouping, implementation considerations and the like. So I think the ticket is about moving it to guidance. so it's not on the home page. Jamie, did you end up getting onto the call? I didn't see if you joined.
Sorry, I just missed that.
Oh, yeah, I was just looking at this with the proposals to move the interaction flow. Did you have a thought on the actual the interactions moving with that, so they stay together?
I mean, I hadn't thought about moving it only because it's sort of keeping with what is on the core page, I think. But I mean, it definitely could.
Yeah, it feels to me like maybe it should. Like
Yeah.
we've said, this page is quite long, and given we've got a lot of other guidance around workflow and all sorts of other things, groups and those the things, it may be best to keep all those things together.
Yep.
So you start with a gentle introduction, with this is the basic interactions, here are the more detailed interactions. Then we can get into things like groups and all of those. And just leave the home page for the more sort of administrative.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with that. Yeah.
Anyone else have any thoughts about the moving of that? No. Okay. Well, the drafter's position here was just about move the example eRequesting interaction flow from the home page. But I'd potentially like to change this to move the, just get the wording right. Move 1.5, the RESTful interactions, and 1.6, the example interaction flow from the home page to guidance. So not quite what's on screen, but that interaction flow and 1.5 as well to the home page. So I'd like to motion that. That's clear enough.
Sounds good. I'll second it.
Yep, great, thank you. All right, here comes the poll. And we're going to wrap that one up in 3, 2, 1.
1+1 in the chat.
Yep, brilliant. So that one is affirmative, 16 votes for and 2 abstained. Thank you.
Okay, we're just flying through it. Okay, here's another one. That. Chat. Okay. So this is on our example request group when we're talking about grouping. So this issue was raised to say that the top 2 branches appear to be identical, and the narratives and subsequent sections do not provide any clarity on the top 2 branches. Comment and suggestion: if there's a difference between the top 2 branches, the narrative should be provided to explain the differences. There's no difference, top 2 branches considered removing. So I'll show you where that's in the IG. Under guidance, we have general guidance. Okay, so this talks about diagnostic request grouping. So it's for when multiple request resources are created as part of the same ordering event. So as part of this, what they do is they share the same group identifier. So we have our diagnostic requests over here. They actually share the same requisition. So they've all got the same number to link them in the group. Each of the diagnostic requests has a task, fulfillment task associated with it, which has the group identifier with the same number. And then those tasks are part of a task group. So as you can see in this, the top two are the same. So we've got here a diagnostic request, a task diagnostic request, and we've got another one here below it. And then at the bottom, we've got a communication request and the task communication request. So what this was trying to show is that a group can be made up of multiple requests, and there can be multiple tasks, diagnostic requests, and communication requests as part of that group. So the issues raised is that it's not clear that that's what this is trying to portray. So there is a proposed disposition here that persuasive with modification because the options were to remove it or update description. But the proposed disposition, yeah, Jane?
I just wondered, was one meant to be for imaging and one for pathology, and that's why the two?
No, it wasn't. It was probably more thinking within a group like in pathology, where there's multiple tests requested because each diagnostic request is for an individual test. And so it's normal practice to order more than one test. So in that case, yeah, there would be multiple. It'd be also the case in imaging where maybe you do an X-ray and an MRI. Each of those would be different diagnostic requests, but they were all part of the same ordering event. So we're ordering all of these together, but each one is separate. So, so the proposed disposition here is to just update the diagram to make the diagnostic and communication task request sets to be represented as two sets of cascading overlapping boxes to show they optionally include multiple instances. So I think here, rather than showing these as separate lines, is we have this box here with some cascading overlapping boxes behind it to kind of show that there may be more than one of these, and the same for the diagnostic request. So that it's not, this is kind of just shows two. It's not clear, didn't show two possible communication requests. So it's proposing to make an update to that diagram to more clearly show that they can be cascading, overlapping boxes to show optionally include multiple. So I think the words are okay on that page. Jump back to the page. It reflects common patterns in Australia when multiple related pathology tests or imaging exams are requested in a single event. So, and then it goes through to talk about when they're created as part of the same ordering event, they share a common identifier. A single task group is used to represent the overall group. Each individual requested test or exam in the group is represented using diagnostic request. And each individual communication request is represented using. So I think our words are okay here. I think just with that update, we'll make that diagram a bit clearer.
I love it. I'll motion it.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. Thanks.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you very much. Here comes the poll. And we shall close the poll in 3, 2, 1. And that one is passed, 15 votes for and 2 abstained. Thank you very much.
15 plus 1 chat. So,
No, 14 plus 1 chat.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Keep going.
Okay. Use cases. Chat. Chat. Okay. So it's not clear why some use cases only reference a placer and a filler, and a bit the server. If indeed the placer only supports RESTful interactions with the client, there should be a server involved in each use case. See the previous comment for a session on modifying the actors. So there was another one, we've already addressed the other one, so I'll just look to this one. And we have use cases in the IG. There we go. We have diagnostic imaging use cases. You'll see here, each of these, we have a description of the use case. And then we have the actors, which are our AU eRequesting IG actors that this are likely to participate in this use case. And then we have the data groups, which maps to the AU eRequesting data groups that are likely to be part of that use case. And what you'll see here is for some of these, this one's a request for diagnostic imaging. So a requested clinician decides that an MRI head scan is indicated for a patient. The clinician and patient agree on a local diagnostic imaging and service provider, and the clinician submits the e-request for the scans directly to that provider. The patient is not required to present an e-request token. Blah, blah, blah. So in this, we say the actors that are affected by this are the placer and the filler. But then on other ones, for example, we've got down here for a reassigned request, it's got the placer, the filler, the patient, and the server. So this first one here, with our current model, which is pretty much what we just talked about there, all of our requests are going to involve the server. If I just jump back to that home page, with here, the placer creates the eRequest on the eRequesting server. The filler searches and reads it from the server, as well as the patient does as well. There is no line here. There is no placer sends it directly to the filler. That's the old messaging paradigm that we're not using. We have RESTful interactions with the server that sits in the middle. So on these use cases, we have left out the server. So this, because the use case does say the clinician submits the e-request directly to that provider. Well, they don't actually submit it directly to that provider. They put it on the server with the assigned to the filler, but then the filler retrieves it from the server. So we actually need to put the server as an actor, impacted actor, on these use cases where it's not on there. So you'll see also for the request for, so that's an assigned request. For an unassigned request, it's exactly the same. It needs to go on the server. Reassigned already had server in there. It's the same for the pathology use cases. Missing server. Some servers on that one. It's on that one. And then there's other ones here. These already have server on it. So I think if we look at the disposition here, saying the proposed disposition is persuasive, the AU requesting server actor is required to support RESTful interactions from the AU requesting placer, filler, and patient actors. AU requesting server actor will be added where it is missing and required for RESTful interactions between actors, specifically in use cases D02, 3, P01, P02, P09. Let's check all those. So we have D02, which is the one we went through there. So that's missing the server. D03, that one's missing the server. P01, it's already there. That's fine. P02, that one's missing the server. And P09, it's missing the server. But I think it's on all the others that are relevant. You'll notice this first one only has the placer. That's there because this is about just generic data collection requirements. It's not about creating it anywhere, sending it anywhere. It was a way I think that was used to kind of say, when we do a pathology test, what data do we need to collect? But this use case doesn't actually talk about creating one or where to put it or anything. So it's the same for this one here. Jamie?
Just a quick question to clarify. So from the resolution, are we just proposing to update that actor column, or is it
Yes.
rewriting the use case to kind of indicate? Because you just said that it wouldn't necessarily be sent directly from a clinician to a provider, but the text in the use case will still say that even though the server actor is represented in that actor column.
Yeah, I think that's fine from the point of view of the clinician. I think they are sending it to them. They're assigning it. Whether there's a server and where that server is probably doesn't need the use case to be updated. And I definitely don't want to look at revisiting the wording on those use cases at the moment, because they're not technical. They're not actually, the actors in those use cases aren't actually referring to our eRequesting actors anyway. So it's talking a requesting clinician. So they're not written in a way that directly aligned to our actors. So I think the actors here are just about the mapping of that use case to actors that are impacted by this or would be participate as part of this use case. So it is the proposal is just to update this column, update the actors column. So I wonder if we could.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I can't update that easily, but I'm happy to clarify that. And I'm happy to motion this, that we will make this update to the actor column on the use cases page only, to add the eRequesting server actor where it's needed.
Happy to second.
Annie?
All right, let's get a poll up. Here it comes. All right, and we shall wrap that one up in 3, 2, 1. And that one is passed, 15 votes for and 2 abstained.
Okay. Next one, 52522. Include must support obligations for mandatory elements in eRequesting coverage. So the conformance page indicates that mandatory elements will be labeled as must support. However, the eRequesting coverage profile does not include status, beneficiary, or payee as must support. Recommend these elements are labeled as must support with obligations indicating they are not to have missing values, or can they? So the if we jump into the IG. Extensions, we have an eRequesting coverage profile here. And we currently only have a must support obligation on type. We've got that down there. If you look at the key elements, there are other mandatory elements in here where we have status, beneficiary, and payor. Now, each of those is mandatory. Given they're mandatory, we should be putting the must support and obligations on that. We have actually already done that. So there is another ticket here. So the must support flag and obligations have been addressed in this ticket, which we have already voted on. I think it was part of, yeah, it was a previous TDG meeting. So we've already resolved this. We've voted on it. We've said that we will add the must support to the following eRequesting coverage profiles: status, beneficiary, payer. We're going to add the default obligations. We're going to constrain status to active only. So that has been addressed. So this was going to be a duplicate, but what we've noticed, and I'll get back to here, is the references here. Is that you see that beneficiary references patient and payer references organization, patient, and related person. So those references, now that we're going to make those mandatory, they should be referencing our profiles that we're using in this IG, which we've got another ticket that has already created, or we've agreed to create an AU eRequesting patient, an AU eRequesting organization. So this resolution now is saying that it's persuasive with modification, that the must support flag and obligations have been addressed in that fire ticket. So we don't need to do that. That's already done. But the modification part here is we will update the communication request beneficiary and the communication request to payer references to use AU eRequesting profiles where available, which is what we covered off in this ticket here. Which was to create AU eRequesting patient, practitioner role, organization, and encounter profiles derived from AU core. So we would, as part of this, just update those references here to the eRequesting ones where we have them available. So I think you'll find we don't have an eRequesting related person. We have no intent for it, so that one would remain, but organization, patient would be updated to at least using the same profiles. Now, Jamie?
Just on the related person one, should we consider, and I don't know if this is required or not, but to have that as AU core related person, or if we're preferring to say nothing at all and just leave it as related person?
That's a good point. It probably should be AU core, because we haven't identified a need for related person in eRequesting yet. We did have a discussion about it in a previous meeting. Jai did go away and have a talk within the department about the role of related person, and we decided to not address it yet in eRequesting. But given there is an AU core related person profile, that would make sense to at least use that to provide some guidance on, if you are using a related person, what it looks like. So I'm happy to motion this with that update, that we update the references to AU eRequesting profiles where available, and otherwise AU core profiles and where they're available for like related person.
Remind me, Michael, how did we get past payer when you don't know anything? So there was like Medicare. To write text, can't you?
Yes. So that did get referred to the fire work group about how we're going to address that. They've considered it for future use as of yesterday. There was a meeting yesterday because we were looking for guidance about how we apply payer for common pay types in Australia. Guidance will go into AU base at some point on that in the future. But yes, within that you can just provide text as to what it is.
Right. So we really just have scope for Medicare or bulk bill, DVA, private concession.
Yeah. So let's have a look. Sorry, let's have a look. Say at the organisation profile in AU core, because that's where we're deriving directly from. So let's just have a look at that just to see what those what would be required. So let's have a look at profiles and organisation. So let's have a look down here at the cardinality. So the only thing that has a one mandatory is name,
Yep.
right? So text, string, what the name of the organization is. Everything else is optional. So that would be the only thing you would need to provide is a name.
And you can't get away with the reference not even being an organization, but just a play.
No. So
Viable.
with this, it is, yeah, the reference is organization, patient, or related person.
Okay.
But yes, at least the obligation is pretty low on these because they're all populative knowns. So if you
And-
don't know any of them, like if you don't know the ABN, you don't know the identifiers, you can just provide a name.
So if it's private, a lot of the private orders, pathology, they don't know who their private insurer is. They're just going bill them privately. So the organization would be the who?
Oh, so privately, in theory, privately should be the patient.
So you're going to have a payer reference. Oh, pay, right. You'd said it's a
Patient.
patient. Yeah, okay.
And then they work out who they reimburse from.
Session effectively be Medicare or whatever your organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noticing of the ticket we have for this with the firework group, that's where we're asking for that guidance too, specifically, right? So that because it is broader than just e-requesting about how you assign these payers. Noting also in R5, it's been separated from private. The structure of this resource has changed slightly, but yeah. So eventually that will go into AU base for that guidance, but for our purpose here, you can provide an organization with a name or a patient.
It's gonna be challenging for people who aren't in this conversation to realize when it's private that they're going to put the patient.
Which is why we want that guidance, and that's why we want that guidance in AU base, is so that we are consistent here in that usage. So there is that ticket there, it is in AU base, but the guidance isn't in there yet.
And we're doing this because for why are we making payer star not zero star?
Because it's in the fire spec as like one. We don't want it. We actually don't want it.
Okay,
right?
okay. We're forced by a fire.
But we have to. So the problem is we didn't have much support on this before, which meant you would ignore it, but then you'd get validation errors because it's mandatory. R5 does make it optional, right? Again, but here we're stuck in R4 land where it is mandatory. So so yeah, I'm happy to restate the motion. We accept this position, but also use AU core related person as we don't have an eRequesting profile for that.
Do we have a second?
I'll begrudgingly second it.
Okay, one begrudging second. We shall go to a poll. All right, and we shall close that one off in 3, 2, 1. And that one is passed. 13 votes for and 1 abstained.
Well, that's all our issues for today. I didn't shoot myself in the foot. It was an easy one today. We do have a number of complex issues coming up. We were going to address them in this meeting, but given key people who those issues are related to, or have raised them, or have interest in them, couldn't make today. So we kind of backfilled this meeting with some issues we had ready to go. But with our resolution, we still have quite a number of complex ones to go. And we've got really 2, maybe 3 meetings to get through a lot of these. So that refer to telecom item from the previous block vote will be covered in the next meeting on the 6th of November. We have a few other ones we want to go through in that meeting as well, which will get added to the agenda and sent out next week. Then we've got 20th November to do more reconciliation. I think we will have a final sort of surge of block votes. Co-chairs will work through in the next couple of weeks a number of block votes to get through a heap of our outstanding issues. And then on the 4th of December, this is our target for finalising issues. Whether we can actually get them all done by then we still do have some complex ones coming up that will definitely involve a lot more conversation than there was today. And a number of those may go into the 4th of December as well. And we'll see where we end up after that. We have the Connectathon the week after that as well, on the 13th, I think, or the 10th, 9th and 10th, I think, of December. And that Connectathon will be an opportunity for us to test any of these things that we've got into the IG. We definitely won't have all the changes in the IG by then, but any of the changes we have been putting in the Connectathon will provide an excellent opportunity to test some of those changes. And I will also just reiterate that please participate in the block votes. I'll put it back in the chat for this one. This is the currently open block vote. Please go have a look. You've got a little bit of time now. You're going to get back. So if you can, please have a look at this now and vote on this one if you can. You do need to log in to have a HL7 account to log in here. They're free to create. If you don't have one, you don't have to be a member. Anyone can create that account, but you can log in and then apply your vote down here to the block. So we've got some coverage on there. Other than that, I'm happy to open the floor if anyone has any issues they want to talk about or anything they want to bring up that we can cover now. Angus.
I guess I'll make an announcement, given I'm my co-chair, that I'll be leaving Sonic tomorrow and moving to Telstra Health. So I still will be engaged with the eRequesting TDG, but from a different angle.
Right, get another lens on it. So, and I think you're taking some leave as well. So you'll be away for a while.
I'll be back on the 24th of November at Telstra Health. The amazing Telstra Health.
So same Angus, different background.
Yes, yes.
That's one way to spread the standard around, Angus. Just
yeah, well, I've completed connecting Sonic to this system, so now I have to go Telstra Health to it.
Good work.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have anything they want to raise?
I think that's a new record for us. I think you did it last week when I was away. You finished early, so I thought I'd better beat that.
Cool.
Great job. Great job. See you guys.
Yeah, we have lots of issues. That's the painful part, but yeah, we have a little bit of reprieve today and then back into it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you at the next meeting. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well done.